Hello, welcome back. Thank you for joining me again here. And if this is the first time, welcome. You've found this channel, or rather, it has found you. How? I have no idea. But who cares? You're here, and that's what matters. This is about A Course in Miracles. This series of videos has been going on for greater than 4 years now. And you'll notice there are well over 1,000 videos now. It began as a live stream in 2021, a daily live stream at that, after 6 months of live stream broadcasts on the online platform Enlightened World Network. We decided that the videos would be in pre-recorded format. So that's what you're watching right now. Welcome. And for those of you who are subscribers and have watched many, many of these, again, welcome back. By the way, that's the subscription button. Click that if you haven't yet. So, what are we actually talking about? Well, let's talk today about the last two paragraphs of chapter 25, section 3. For those following along, always encouraged. What we're dealing with here, and actually throughout the course, wherever you find yourself in it, we're dealing with things that we're afraid to accept, we're afraid to acknowledge. Quite simply, we want to keep our world of suffering. We want to keep our supposed individual ego identity, which means we want to keep our world of suffering. We want to keep it. So, voila, here we all appear to be. As unflattering as that may sound, and resistance may be screaming at you right now, all resistance is of the ego. The ego says this is wrong. The ego says this course is wrong. Why would you do that when you could just put this big book down and go forth and do life and judge somebody and expect the peace of God? Don't worry, judge somebody else. It'll work out differently this time. Jump off this cliff instead of the other one that you jumped off before. Yeah, this grass is smoother along the edge of the cliff. There's shinier stuff over here. It'll be different this time. Yeah, it'll be different in this relationship. Yeah, it'll be different in this job with this different car. You see where we're going with this? Here's the deal. At some point, doing this course, i.e., spirituality, will make you really uncomfortable. It is not a collection of fields full of flowers, rainbows, and unicorns. Spirituality is not about being constantly blissed out with all kinds of sensual pleasures, great food, and a fantastic bottle of wine. Maybe a Pauillac or a Margaux, a little left bank Bordeaux for you. Something, with real depth and power. heavy on the cab. Ah, it's not about that. Spirituality is about changing our mind. Here's what we must come to terms with and accept. We don't see things as they are. Our perception is upside down and backwards. It's wrong, in other words. We don't see things as they are. When we look upon this wobbling, spinning ball of rock, all of the societies that appear to occupy it, all of the made up, fabricated nation states that appear to occupy it, and every other division that we've wrought in our constant fear of our own reality. In all of this, we're acting out this desire to be separate from God. We're not. And you might ask, why would we want to do that? At what point in the history of linear time did that happen? Well, here's the answer. It did not. It never happened. This wobbling, spinning ball of rock and all of the suffering that goes on it, in it, within it, without it, around it, all of that stuff is a dream. Enlightenment is often called awakening. And for good reason. That's a very appropriate term. This is a dream. We're in the process of waking up from it, and you're closer than you think. Whether it feels like it or not, you're here watching this. So you're invited to continue to pay attention because it's not all rainbows and unicorns. And that's what we want to run from. And perhaps you've invested quite a bit of time and thought, emotions, energy, whatever you want to call it. Perhaps you've invested a lot of time in rainbows and unicorns and exchanging one sensual pleasure-based modality for another sensual pleasure-based modality. Truth is that we're not a body. You're not a body. You know that. This is spirituality we're talking about, not running off to the gym. Not like that's unimportant. If you wish to go to the gym, keep going. And if you wish to continue to enjoy a nice bottle of wine, by all means, don't let this pixelated image on your screen stop you from that. Here's the deal as we practice this course. We don't have to see things the same way, and we're invited not to. How we see them: separation, guilt, hatred, blame, fear, war, violence, 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 and more violence. Attack, 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 and more attack. Doesn't even have to be physical or verbal. It's going on in the mind, isn't it? As we judge and lash out and blame and condemn. Condemn our brother. It's going on in the mind. It's all about what is going on in the mind. This is a course in mind training. This is a course in changing your mind. It's not a course in getting more stuff in the world. You'll notice A Course in Miracles does not deal with the popular concept of manifestation of physical objects here in the world. There is no world. You heard that right. There is no world. It's a dream. We're all perfectly at home in God where we've always been. The separation never took place. It's a simple dream, a mistake. Now, while we appear to be here, you may be protesting, well, that may sound real great, but it doesn't sound practical at all. Well, here's the beautiful picture. We have right here in this course a practical method, a way to clarify our perception. In practice, this is true forgiveness. It's our forgiveness, it's our extending love to the Son of God. That's what it is. You learn this course by doing it. Understanding these ideas intellectually has some value, for sure, but let me tell you something. It isn't necessary in order to begin. You don't have to get this in order to extend love to your brother, which you deep down know is true. Right? Right. Maybe it's time to stop pretending that you can't do it and realize that you certainly can. The very fact that you're here tells me everything, and I do mean everything I need to know. You're closer than you think. Open your mind to that. What we're invited to do is to open our mind. We've been choosing the ego as our teacher. The ego wants to teach us what we are. It has no idea. We've been following a very incompetent, hateful guide. We could choose to follow our inner teacher instead. The Holy Spirit, Jesus, call it what you want to call it. The Holy Spirit is part of our mind, part of you. Follow that part of you. This part of you looks right past all of our psychodrama here on Wobbling Spinning Ball of Rock, which is intense, always is, always has been. The Holy Spirit looks right past that to truth. We could choose to look at our entire experience with Him, with it, instead of with the ego. Doing so has the power to move you right past all the violent drama to the truth of what is and see your brother for what he is in truth, not what he appears to be in the world. That's a physical body plus all stations of life, occupations, stuff. Look past that. The Holy Spirit looks right past it to the truth. Here's the deal, something that we're afraid to accept, even though it may sound perfectly obvious and perfectly simple here on a video or in any form of talk or in writing or whatever. As you see your brother, you see yourself. There is no separation of any kind. Remember, separation is an illusion. It's a dream. The ego is not real. It doesn't exist, and you don't have to give it your allegiance. Look right past it. Look with the Holy Spirit. In fact, forgive the ego. It's nothing. Forgive it. Give it over to the Holy Spirit. Do it again and again and again. You'll experience the change of mind, but we have to do it in order to experience it. What we rather inconveniently find is that we can't keep certain little hatreds and expect to awaken. We have to forgive totally. We can't forgive 99.9% of the world's population and reserve our special little hatred for the chosen few. Hmm. Now, if you don't feel able to go there today, that's all right. You start with what comes up for you. You'll have plenty of opportunities, and perhaps you've had plenty in the last few minutes. As you took a look at this and listened to it, and the ego rebelled, shrieking, saying, "Turn this off. This is absolutely wrong. What do you mean there's no world? Of course there is. You're walking around on it, dude. Are you?" Hmm. We're invited to forgive because as we see our brother, we see ourselves. There is no separation of any kind. Your brother is you. Would you have love or condemnation? Would you rather be loved and appreciated for what you really are or condemned, chastised, and punished? What would you rather have? As you see your brother, you see yourself, literally. We're not talking about the world of bodies where we all appear to have a different one. You're not a body. We're talking about a completely different order of magnitude. This is a course in mind training. Remember, it's not about the physical body. It's not about a pleasurable, blissful retreat in the tropics, though that sounds rather wonderful right now. In that bottle of Left Bank Bordeaux sounds really wonderful right now, too. But A Course in Miracles isn't about that. It's not. It's about changing our mind. And we all experience resistance. It is the ego that resists. Always count on that. The important piece is your brother is you. So as you see him, you see yourself. And your choice of whether to forgive or condemn determines what's coming for you next. It makes what we call the future, which doesn't exist, actually. Neither does the past, which we would all readily agree, even though we spend almost all of our time in one or the other and not in the present. There is only the present moment where we choose forgiveness or condemnation. As you choose, you see. Think about it. When you lash out blame and are full of hate, how do you feel? Certainly not peaceful, maybe justified for a little while, but you'll find another object or person or group of people to lash out at. Try forgiveness instead. See your brother as he really is and extend forgiveness and love. Doesn't mean you have to call him up. Don't call him up if you don't want to call him up. If you're not called to do that, don't do that. We can forgive people that we've never met. I'm doing it right now. So can you. It's done in the mind. Look right past the veneer to the truth of what is. These lessons repeat themselves throughout A Course in Miracles, as they do in all spiritual traditions. Really, it's the repetition of the same ideas over and over again. So you'll find that this video series, oh my God, repeats the same ideas over and over and over again. Yeah, I know. The conventional modern attitude of, I saw that yesterday. I don't need to see that again. Oh, really? Mm. Did you learn it yesterday perfectly? Only you can answer that. So, what this is very practical, and it's an invitation. It's an invitation, first and foremost, to relax and trust the guidance of our inner teacher. Appeal to this guidance, ask for it, and learn to relax and trust it. And it's about present moment awareness. There's a reason that's a thing in world spirituality in lots of different traditions. If you've ever found yourself meditating in a Buddhist practice or a mindfulness practice or a non-sectarian meditation practice for that matter, yoga practice, whatever it is, if you've ever found yourself meditating, asking yourself, why are we doing this? That's a really great question. Here's the answer. We're doing it because this choice of the Holy Spirit or the ego, life or death, love or fear, God or the ego, truth or illusion, takes place right now, in the present moment. Like a formal seated meditation practice, our lives are about recognizing when we've become distracted in our torrent of judgment, hate, guilt, rage, fear, and blame, and return our awareness to the object of meditation, just like the breath in formal seated meditation. Find yourself judging, return yourself to true forgiveness of the Son of God. Find yourself carried off in wild, feverish imagination, return your awareness to true forgiveness of the Son of God right here, right now, in the present moment. When else? That's why meditation's a thing, so that we may choose right now in the present moment. Choose peace instead of wild condemnation, hatred, guilt, rage, fear, blame, and violence. We've all had enough of that. And there's a lot of it going on. There always is. You don't have to participate in it. Remember, this is a course in mind training. So that's what we focus on here. Here in the world, we continue to live our lives. It's worth noting that forgiveness does not mean you agree with someone's behavior. It does not mean you support their behavior. It certainly does not mean that you validate and condone that behavior. Forgiveness looks past all of that completely to the truth of what your brother really is. Here in the world, you may be called to, well, avoid certain situations or people. You may be called to do what we here in the world call protect yourself. You may be called to move someplace or stay right where you are. What we do here as we appear to be human beings is we live what appears to be our normal life. We go to our jobs. Go to your job, pay your bills. Eat, drink, sleep. Live life. It's perfectly doable without believing in the hardcore reality of any of it. In fact, as we do this, we begin to develop a sense of humor, very good medicine, some of the Holy Spirit's best, laughter. Again, it doesn't mean that we abandon our lives and run off to the Himalayas, shave our heads, and take up robes as a monk or a nun. Though, if you're called to do that by the Holy Spirit, great. Most of us are not. Why is it important that we continue to show up as we appear? There are people out there that will relate best to you. Not to your ego, but to the Holy Spirit as extended, as shared through you. There are people out there that you can reach better than I'll be able to reach them. They're meant to work with you. Let us not do these people the grave disservice of failing to extend love to them. They're meant to hear it best from you. Doesn't mean you have to turn on a camera and microphone and broadcast this message to a worldwide audience. That's my own directive. Yeah, just the way it has appeared to turn out here. Yours may be very, very different because there are people that will respond best to you. So we show up for them, extending love. Remember, as we see our brother, we see ourselves. How would you see yourself? What do you want? Love or condemnation? Choose. We're invited right here in the final paragraph of this section to make our choice. Every moment of every day, we have the opportunity to make this choice. Chose wrongly in the past, so what? Choose again right now. Past is gone. Choose the Holy Spirit. Choose forgiveness. Choose love. Thank you for joining me. So, you'll have noticed that this is very deep stuff, and you'll also have noticed that these videos are full, chock full of invitations to practice. That is 100% deliberate and in keeping with the teachings of this course. We learn it by doing it. Yes, it has some value to understand these ideas intellectually. Hopefully, these videos can help in some way with that. But it's not necessary to understand any of this at all in order to put it into practice. You know that's true. Who needs a compendium of intellectual understanding in order to express love? It's not required. So perhaps you're finding that none of this makes much sense to the intellectual thinking mind. It's fine if it doesn't. It's about doing it. Here's where we really learn. This is why this is so important. When we do the course, when we extend love, which we don't have to understand as we do it, because we actually deep down do, we're extending love. As we do it, something very powerful happens. Our experience shows us that all of these ideas that we're studying are true. It proves to us and demonstrates to us that these ideas are true. We learn it experientially, which is powerful, far more powerful than in words. We do it and experience, i.e., know it. You may never be able to articulate it, and that's perfectly understandable and fine. You don't have to. In fact, truth is beyond words altogether. It's beyond all of our concepts of language and all of them. We're using language here because it's a tool that we understand. There's no mistake that this form that appears to be broadcasting to you is, well, looks like a dude, middle-aged dude from Arizona. There's a lot of those. The form of the messenger makes absolutely no difference at all. It's the content that matters. A central lesson here that runs throughout the course. It's not about the veneer, it's about the content, truth, what really is beyond all the veneers. When something lands for you, it's the Holy Spirit. You may count on that with 100% certainty. So I thank you again for joining me. Again, this is the subscription button here. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click that and join us. Questions also are more than welcome. I do welcome the comment thread here. That's open to everybody. If you have a question or if you just wish to pop in and say hello, I'd love to hear from you. The questions are great because they help the entire group, which is a growing international community, by the way. So thank you, as always, for tuning in, and I will talk to you all very soon.